Hey everyone and welcome back. So before starting with today's topic and bore you guys, I just want to thank all my subscribers and non-subscribers for such a wonderful response on my first video. The first video was on the topic, if you know Excel, you also know SQL. If you have not watched the video yet, this is the thumbnail of the video. You can visit my channel and watch my full video. तो आज इस वीडियो में क्या करने वाले हैं? So today we are going to prove once again that Excel is similar to SQL by comparing the Excel table as well as the SQL table. So before quickly I move to the topic and आज का ये वीडियो में खत्म कर दूं, let's first understand what are tables and what is its importance in Excel as well as in SQL. On my screen you can see I have a plain Excel spreadsheet. Some people call it worksheet, some people call it simply a sheet. So now you can see the Excel spreadsheet is divided in the form of rows and columns, and each row and a column have a specific block which just I'm clicking here called as cells, right? So now why are these cells used? So these cells are used to what you can say record your data, store your data, and then number of things, right? So I will show you now how an Excel data looks like. So if I move to the next sheet, you can see in each of the cells there is some data stored. The data is stored in rows and the headings are stored in the columns. So this is how we saw how a data is stored in Excel in a tabular format. Now let's see how does the same thing looks in SQL. So by looking at this video, we at least got in clarity that how Excel table looks like, how the data is recorded in Excel, and what are the components in Excel tables. Now quickly, let's jump to SQL tables and let's see how SQL tables looks like. Is there any difference between these two? So this is an SQL table and the data stored within it. So this is, in this case, we are using Oracle SQL Developer. So it depends on the SQL Developer application which you are using. The view might be differed in case of each applications. Okay. So now here also you can see the data, the same data which is in Excel has been transferred or moved to SQL table. Now we can see here also the data is in rows as well same as in the columns also, where you can see columns, there are headings, and in the rows there is the data available. So this is also maintained similarly as per Excel in the tabular format, where you can see each block same as cells in Excel. So in each block the data is maintained. So now by seeing at this both the scenarios, मुझे तो कोई फर्क नहीं दिख रहा है between Excel and SQL, because Excel में भी डेटा tabular form में स्टोर होता है, even SQL में भी tabular form में स्टोर होता है. Even Excel में it is divided into rows and columns, even in SQL it is divided into rows and columns. But the question is, why do companies and even the technical people choose SQL to store their data instead of Excel? For an example, your company or might be XYZ company choose its delicate data which is related to company's financial details or XYZ details in SQL database rather than Excel. In the example we saw, it is easier to maintain in Excel. Then why company choose SQL as an option to store their data? This would be very interesting. या तो ये लोग पागल है, या फिर there might be some hidden features or advantages of SQL which you as a beginners need to learn from this video. What it might be? So the first important thing is data security. So what do I mean by data security is, suppose मान लो आपका एक Excel file है, or else there is an Excel workbook which is shared in nature. Shared, I mean anyone can open that Excel file. So if anyone can open that Excel file, there are chances कि वो person वो file open भी कर सकता है. He can play around the data, he can delete it, alter it, delete the worksheet. Anything can be done with that Excel file. Even if, मान लो, if you have password protected that file, right? So today there are some features, or I would say some technical people who can even hack that Excel files using VBA code. Where is the security? So that means that Excel also do not have data security. But this is not in the case of SQL. Unless and until your database admin does not provide you proper access, or I would say proper permissions to the database, you cannot use the database or cannot access the data. Let me explain this with a real life example. We all have our WhatsApp groups, right? So in the WhatsApp group, there is something called as admin, who is a person or a group of persons. Until that admin allows any new person to enter into the group, तब तक कोई हमारे WhatsApp group में enter नहीं कर सकता. The same logic यहाँ पे भी apply होता है. Unless and until database admins doesn't provide you the proper permissions to use the database, you cannot access the data. So this means our data is much more secure than हमारे Excel files. Now, the second most important thing about SQL, the data storage capacity. Now, if you are a daily Excel user, okay, now try this one thing today once you watch this video. Try to add around 7 to 8 lakhs of data, rows of data in an Excel file, save it, close it, and try to reopen it once again. So you will notice there is a lot of hanging issue, or the Excel might take long time to open, because Excel has only a data storage limit or a row storage limit of only 10 lakh. मतलब आप सिर्फ 10 lakh rows ही data store कर सकते हो, उसके बाद there is no option. But in SQL, in a single table, you can store around millions of data. And one more difference, if you try to retrieve the data from the Excel, or if you want to see the data, आपको आपका data देखना है Excel में से, तो उसके लिए बहुत टाइम लगेगा. आपको Excel ओपन होने के लिए ही ज़्यादा टाइम लगेगा. Then if you want to see your data, if you want to select the data, it takes a lot of time. If you want, you can check it after this video. But in SQL, your data can be seen, read, or I would say retrieved within a fraction of seconds. So this is the advantage, where you can fetch your data quickly in SQL when compared to Excel. अब ये दो examples देखने के बाद समझ ही आ गया होगा कि technical people या I would say companies दोनों पागल तो नहीं है कि they have chosen SQL over Excel to store their data. So before closing this video, I would like to give one more difference between Excel and SQL, which will also be a hint of the topic of my next video. So quickly, let's see it. So here in case of Excel, let's take some 3 examples. Example number 1, or I would say scenario number 1. I have to create a worksheet. So in order to create a worksheet in Excel, I'll be using already available features or functions of Excel. So I'll be clicking on this new worksheet to create a new one. If I want to create one more worksheet, again I have to click this. So I'll be using already available functions or features in Excel to do this function, to create an worksheet. Scenario number 2. If I want to alter my already existing data. Now, for example, if I want to change this cell, I'll just zoom in a bit. If I want to change this cell from debit to credit, so what I have to do? I have to select this cell, I have to type credit, and that's it. So I have to do it manually, right? So this is scenario number 2. Scenario number 3. If I want to delete this entire worksheet itself, then again I have to use the same Excel functions by just going to the delete option and just click on delete, and my worksheet will be deleted. So just to explain you in a simple language, in Excel, your mouse or your shortcut does the work for you. But in SQL, the same work will be done by your SQL queries and commands. So in the next part, let's quickly understand what are SQL queries. Now, if I want to perform the same activities in SQL, which I just showed you in Excel, like creating a table, might be altering the data in the table, or might be deleting a table, then I need to know something called as SQL queries. So now ये SQL queries क्या है? I'll explain you it very simple. For example, if I want to communicate with a person, अगर मुझे किसी person के साथ बात करना है, so I need to communicate in such a language that it is also known by the other persons. Example, if I know Hindi, I will communicate in Hindi language with the other person. But if the other person doesn't know Hindi, then it would be a problem, right? So I need to communicate in the same language that the other person also knows. The same concept applies here also in SQL. So to communicate with SQL, I need to know a language which SQL can understand. So that language is nothing but your SQL queries. I hope you understand what is SQL queries now. Now I'll come back to the topic again. If I want to create, alter and delete tables in SQL, then I need to know something called as DDL, which is called as Data Definition Language, which is a language of SQL, which means SQL queries. So in my next video, I will be teaching you how to write SQL queries for creating a table, altering a table and deleting a table. I hope I was able to explain all the concepts very much clearly, giving a very relevant examples. Hope this video was very much informative and interesting too. और अगर इंटरेस्टिंग था तो आपकी तरफ से एक लाइक तो बनता है इस वीडियो पे. ऑल्सो प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू माई चैनल अगर किसी ने नहीं किया है तो बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस लर्निंग जर्नी. सो मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में विच विल बी अ डेटा डेफिनेशन लैंग्वेज वीडियो. टिल देन स्टे कनेक्टेड एंड स्टे ट्यून्ड विद Decode with us.